Welcome to Nourishing the Mother, an inspired conversation space between Bridget Wood and Julie Tenner on the journey of motherhood through the common thread of parenting, relationship, and sexuality as a path to consciousness.
We keep our conversations honest, our experiences real, and our philosophies exploratory. We believe that in order to raise incredible humans, we first have to raise ourselves. We know that in order to rock the family, you've got to nourish the mother. If you are here, you care about paving a path of conscious and intentional motherhood, connected with yourself and your gifts, and also illuminating your children in theirs so we may raise more whole humans who can impact this world in a more humane way.
If you desire to integrate your learnings practically and supportively, head on over to bridgetwood.life or julietenner.love to go deeper. And for all live-streamed pre-release podcasts and all our free content, head over to our free Facebook group, Nourishing the Mother with Bridget Wood and Julie Tenner. We are Julie Tenner and Bridget Wood, and we are so grateful you're here.
Hello and welcome to Nourishing the Mother. I'm Bridget Wood.
And I'm Julie Tenner. And today's podcast is how to flirt well and quit your resentment cycles, which we can all relate to.
Yes.
So, which is why we want to have this conversation, because often what goes most neglected and withered in long-term relationship, and even dare I say just in aging, is the skill and the art form that is flirtation. Yeah. Don't you think, Bridget?
Yeah, so much. And I think too, in family life and in the demands of kids, it can be really easy to just feel sometimes exhausted by that so that you don't have room for anything else. But it so quickly, as you say, leaves us feeling withered and disconnected and resentful. Like, you know, asking that question, is this all there is?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, 100%. And what I think we've got to remember is that I think many of us, because of the culture that we have grown up with, have attached penetration and sex to flirtation. And so there's many of us that are like edging around flirtation going, I am not going anywhere near there because I don't have the space, the headspace, haven't flipped into my feminine, have too many demands and tasks to do, have too much shit with the kids to do. I don't want to go anywhere near sex. I'm too angry at you, shut off from you, closed off from my body, whatever. Yeah. So I won't go anywhere near flirtation because those two things are interlinked.
Because I'm worried that and this can be like, you know, as you say, that almost teenage imprint, right? Which is like, I don't want to give you the wrong idea because I don't want that right now.
Right, exactly. Versus what does it look like to grow up our individualized expression of sexuality, which is really just our life force and our ability to create energy that bubbles and fizzes through us and then ripples out from us, and we feel better and this person in front of us feels better and we both leave more energetically alive.
Yeah, that's the ticket.
Right. And I do think, like, we talk about this a lot, you know, certainly in all of my couples work, and I'm sure we've said it on this podcast before, is this idea of taking penetration and sex like totally off the radar and just thinking about how do I create a day-to-day lifestyle that keeps us at a simmer, so that if we imagine we can't have, if we're a boiling kettle and we're not having penetration until we're 100 degrees, well, gee whiz, if you're trying to boil hot water on a stove and you're starting at 0 degrees, it takes a long freaking time, and it's, you know, who wants to watch water boil, right? Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a saying with that.
There's a saying, the watched pot never boils.
Right. Okay. Versus, what does it look like to go, I'm not even interested in being amorous until I'm at 30 degrees. And if we stay and we're able to keep each other and maintain this sense of non-sex chemistry and keep me boiling between 30 to 70 degrees, well, then we're in the playing field for sex and penetration and amory.
And also spontaneity.
Right. So all of this is setting ourselves up to experience aliveness, vitality and sexual connection that leaves us feeling more alive and vital and keeps our relationship passion simmering along. But we've got to always be thinking, it's my responsibility to keep myself at 30, right? This is where we talk about our self-care practices, our feminine energy practices, really choosing to prioritize how we feel in our own bodies, sensualities, connection to the self. I do think the first 30 degrees is on us.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can't wait to be initiated by someone outside of us.
Wait to be turned on.
Yes.
You have to do that.
Yes. So the first 30 degrees is yours, girlfriend.
So what is it for you? What is it that turns you on?
Right. Let's be a connoisseur. Let's explore it. What's the banquet? You know, all of those things, which this whole podcast in many ways is dedicated to.
Yes.
Right. And then between the playing field of 30 to 70 is when we can get more artful in relationship skills, which is where we want to kind of focus this conversation with 3 ways that you can start to think about this, because the resentment cycles we get in is, you don't see me, I'm a slave, I'm in here in service to the kids that I'm with all of the time and meeting all of the needs, and the house is crazy and there's meals to be cooked and shopping to be done and repairs on the house and work, and we get so bogged in the service of stuff that we feel like we are unseen, unvalued, don't matter, are not a priority, have no desirability or desire force from our partner. And that is part of that really hurts. And we take that hurt and we fling it out at our partners and we go, you're not.
Yeah.
Which is the resentment cycle. Right. So they might be doing the most wonderful upgrades on your house, tending to the deck, doing repairs, mowing the lawns, and then that list leads on to the next thing, and you want to get all of these things done so that you can feel a little bit less demand as you enter your week, because these things are annoying you. And you're inside going, why am I invisible? You haven't even come in and sat down and had lunch with me. You're just going to disappear and just expect that I'll look after the house and the kids and that's just done for you. Right. So we can see these stories.
Yeah, and how much that builds up. And then what the byproduct of that is often, when we talk about the 30 degrees, that just goes down to 0, because what you've done is you've then just eroded any passion, any simmering connection, any desirability, because you've stacked up all of these reasons why he's not, right, or they're not, or they can't.
Yeah.
Which is just, it feels yuck. Yeah. And it erodes the relationship.
Yes. And what we want to put forward here is that, you know, we can like do some really hard stuff on that for sure. But we also know that if you're a listener of this podcast, your consciousness and your ability to do the grit of hard work of consciousness is not something that we need to address here. What we would like to address in this podcast is the more easeful, flirty, joyful aspect of you that often you don't remember or return to.
Yeah.
And that can be as much a spiritual practice as the hard, deep, and heavy. So what does it look like to remember how adored and free, how adored she is and how free you feel in this aspect of you that is flirty, glowy, vibrant you? I sat there this morning with this couple, and we just got him to share when he, like if he was writing the story on how he knows when his woman is open and surrendered, and he was trying to tell me what to look for or what that would look like. And he went on this beautiful exploration of, well, her just, I don't think she does anything different, but it's like her hair and her skin glow. And she's probably dancing or swaying to music. She's not like, and she's not on her phone. And I would walk in the room and she would just turn around, and there would almost be this inhale, and she would, you know, run or walk towards me. She'd throw her arms around me, and I would feel like I was invited, like she wanted all of me inside of her. Like there's this invitation sense, and she would just gaze up at me adoringly. Right. And she's sitting there like delighted by the fact that it's so beautiful. We forget how beautiful it is to share how our partner delights us.
Yes.
And she was like, oh, I remember her. I'd forgotten her. And that gives me such permission to be her.
That's so beautiful.
Like, how beautiful is it?
Yeah, I love it.
And then I had this beautiful man on the call who shared, you know, and we were walking down the city the other day, and I was on this work call, and then I got off the work call, and my beautiful woman partner turned around to me and she went, God, you're sexy when you do that masculine business thing. And he was like, am I? Right. We forget how to share our delight in our partner that gives them permission to fully embody the things that we find very attractive.
And I think too, in the case of that comment, to actually fully embody who it is that we are, you know, or fully claim the identity that we revolve our life around too. Because sometimes, you know, if that had gone unsaid, he may sometimes feel this simmering resentment from her about his dedication to his work, right? Whereas if she can actually amplify how that feels to see him in that space, then that's affirming for who he is, right? And isn't that what all of us want?
Oh, it's so delicious. So I want you to not forget that it's such a beautiful thing just to sit together and share. We want to share how when you're most attractive, when I find you most attractive, when I know you're surrendered and open to me, what I find so sexy and delightful about you is I love to be around you when I love to see you, like just to share any one of those conversations together is incredibly beautiful.
Incredibly. And I would say in that, like, just notice if you immediately then go to, oh no, am I not attractive when I do the opposite? Like, to just really watch if you collapse in on yourself on the opposite, you know, because then you can see that you have a fantasy of like being adored and accepted all of the time, right? Because it's natural to have cycles of frustration in relationship and times when we close off. And so really it's the task of actually just embracing hearing the I love you
without adding any sauce,
without adding anything else to it.
Yeah, totally embracing hearing your delight, 100%. The other part that I want to put in here, and perhaps this is more for men, but I hope also more affirming for women, is we had in this couples call a really wonderful conversation, and I used which I know you love because I'm pretty sure one of your daughters follows the movie Moama.
Yes, I love that movie.
Right, yeah, I know, I thought you did. And so I brought that forwards as a metaphor to say, you know, throughout this thread is the idea that the goddess, the feminine principle, is both destroyer and creator. And the destroyer is so terrifying. Like she is a carnivorous, destroying, you know, bomb throwing volcano that spits venom that can kill you.
Yeah.
And that's how we can be perceived by our partner when we're going, you don't see me, you don't matter, you don't think, you know, and we start doing that. Instead of what we really want under that volcano is for them to see us as the earth-giving goddess and bring us love and devotion and presence like Moama does at the end, and that scary volcano monster instantly transform into the earth goddess.
Yeah, so Moana just meets her in this most courageous way, right? So like Moana,
she lets go of the fear, lets go of what she sees, and instead knows who she is. And she meets who she is, not what she sees. Yeah. And the goddess transforms. So we've got to remember the feminine principle is ferocious. She is the destroyer, which is part of our capacity, particularly as feminine beings, to really learn that art so that we're not destroying our partner. But also equally for our partner to know the scarier she looks, the more she's yearning for you to feel her and meet her. Yeah. To soften her. Just like Moama. So instead of making this about you at all, I'm not enough. I don't do enough for you. I'm never going to be able to meet you. This is never going to work. Instead of the collapse and the crush, is to stop making it mean something and just know the more fierce she looks, the more kitten-like she wants to be.
Yeah. And can you like drop your own fear of being
swallowed
up or you know, have your balls cut off so that you can meet that softer part of her.
Yeah. This podcast is brought to you by what we have going on in the world that you can jump in on. And Bridgie, what's there for you?
Yes, at bridgetwood.life you can find the Christmas Survival Guide. So it is a 4-week supported email series to really help you feel centered, aligned with your vision at Christmas, and supported in your nervous system so that it can be one where you rewrite narratives that perhaps feel really tired and that you really find the win-win and the beautiful connection that you're so desiring in your Christmas. And you, Jules?
You can grab my sexy Christmas date. So what you get is an easy to follow, sexy and sensual couples date that comes with a 20-minute guided tantric date workshop video that you get to follow along, press play and follow along. You can gift your partner a special experience or gift each other. Comes with a downloadable PDF guide and a whole heap of sexy playlists. And you can find out more about that at julietenner.love/sexy Christmas. So it can be just really beautiful to know that. Of course, the lived practice of that is hard because our partners are equally going to be meeting all of their wounding and trauma and nervous system repatterning. Like I'm not sitting here going, which I think is easy for us to get on our moral high horse and be like, he just needs to man up, which makes my skin crawl.
Yeah.
It's awful. And instead entering that with compassion and a more adult level conversation around this is what's happening. What you'll see is, but what's really happening is, and what I need is. So there's that. We need to quit hustling for who has it worse, which is when we make it about ourselves.
Yeah.
I'm in here doing this. Yeah, you go.
Well, yeah, I mean, when we're hustling for who has it worse, all we're doing is further entrenching our own, feeling of being disenfranchised, our own feeling of like toughness, and we're just wallowing in our own stuff, which means we're not able to feel them at all. And we are making it all about us. And so we put a wall up. And we're kind of like each just digging our heels in. And so you're not going anywhere.
Not going anywhere. No. So that's what we want you to consider as the first phase. The second phase is where we want to start bringing in the play. And number 2 and 3 that we're going to say here are relatively intertwined. So we're just going to talk around them as skill sets, and then we're going to leave them with you to play. And by all means, you can reach out and we can, riff this, or you can jump into either of our spaces. And this is all of the conversations that we have.
Yes.
So part of this conversation is around learning how to tussle her. So when she's gotten dense, when she's ice queened, when she's in that resentment phase, when she's like pretty sure she's unseen, unvalued, doesn't matter to you, isn't a priority to you, what do you do that you can play her with that? Because she looks scary, but actually what she is this, sexy little kitten who just wants to be petted for how delicious and desirable she is. Like, don't you see how delicious and desirable I am? Like imagining her as this play kitten who just wants to be adored and seen. And that those small, tiny acts of I'm playing with you, I'm going to walk past, I'm just going to give you a loud on your ass to go, yeah, I see you. Helps her remember, oh, that's right, there's this other part of me.
Yeah. And even just to have those little comments that are said across the kitchen that, are playful, or that are laced with innuendo, or that are said with a smirk, that that it works to crack the ice.
Exactly.
And then you go, and like the laughter that it generates through you creates life force between the both of you.
Yeah. So what are all of the ways you can bring play and flirtation and just think, oh, I've just got to go pet the kitten a little. What does that look like for you? Does it look like like a swing, a grab, a dip, kiss? Does it look like a slow, incredibly slow, gentle move of her hair off her neck and a placement of a super soft kiss before you move on? Does it look like a wink?
Like calling her in for a hug when you can feel she's resisting it and holding her longer.
Yeah.
Like even when she wants to pull away, like just kind of warming her in such a way that she softens into it.
Yeah. Does it look like taking a minute to stand back and just breathe her in, smile with delight about how good that feels to watch how gorgeous she is, and then share that feeling with her? God, when I see you like that, it makes me feel. So we want you to bring back play with the sexy kitten, even when what you see in the moment is the volcano. When you remember you got a Ferrari parked in that driveway, you want to take her for a spin. Don't forget to appreciate how glorious her curves are and how delightful those leather seats feel when you slide into them, and how amazing it feels to steer that wheel. Like, she's that. Don't put a cover over it and pretend it's not there and then get pissy when it starts to fall apart.
I love that metaphor. That's so good.
So what I want to say to that is, though, this is part of the conversation we were having with couples in the workshop this morning, was what I loved was there's this beautiful man who came forwards in that and said, well, actually they both reflected it in different ways, these two men, but said, what I need to be able to do that is an invitation from her to know that I'm safe, to know she wants this, to know this is like the green light. Yes, keep going. And what that might look like is something as simple as that if I'm out in the garden fixing the house or whatever, that she wanders out to me and goes, God, you look sexy the way you hold that paintbrush. I just love watching you sweat like that.
Yeah.
Or you just have your cup of coffee and just sit out there because you just want to be in his space. That makes him go, oh, she wants to be in my space. Or you just stand at the window and gaze out and go, fuck, I love what you're doing.
Yeah.
Small invitations combined with when he comes towards you and does those things, that instead of keeping it quiet and being like, I'm not going to let it go yet, or I'm going to pretend this doesn't happen, letting yourself turn the volume up of appreciation. Really feel the sigh of an exhale. Really feel the delight and the fizz of flirtation and go, oh, I liked that. Letting him feel and see the turn up of that.
Yeah.
So they're the points we want to leave you with. Quit hustling for who's got it worse. Stop making it about you. Tussle and play with the sexy kitten rather than reading the volcano. And be an invitation. Give him appreciation, feedback, and an invitation into more.
And in order to be an invitation, it can also be helpful for you to look at all of the ways where you have acknowledged him has enriched your connection, because sometimes there can be things in the way of wanting to be an invitation because you don't feel like it, right? How often do we say, I don't feel like it? But in order to create any kind of change, you need to go first often. And that means laying the groundwork for, a communication style that says, I know this is just as much my stuff as yours, so how can I blast past where I'm at right now? How can I get in the energy of appreciation when I don't want to?
Yeah.
And also look at the times perhaps when he has appreciated you and how that has made you feel, because that can be a really great reminder too. I know my husband's pretty good at making the point that what he gets to do, like for us around the house or for different things, is because of how what I do makes that possible. Right. And so then I feel valued and I feel more seen in, the unseen mothering work. And so then I want to meet him.
Yeah.
And so just reflecting on how that feels for us to be seen is a really good way to remind ourselves why it's so worth us being that invitation first.
Yeah, I love that you said that. That's incredibly beautiful. Yeah. And states become traits. So you've always got to be careful about what state you're continuously reinforcing in your programming.
Yeah.
And you can not feel like something, and you can change your state by changing your outfit, changing your movement, changing your mindset, changing the environment. Doesn't matter. Just change fucking something to get yourself out of that state. And all of a sudden, I feel like that thing now. I didn't feel like going out, but now I've got the party dress and I've done my hair and done my makeup. I'm ready.
Yeah. And just remember that the amount of bullshit that we tell ourselves, right? Like we can feel when we're in something and our state feels just so all-consuming, it can be very, very insidious and make us think this is who I am or this is how it is. But it's one of a myriad ways to be.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So we would love to hear how this podcast has been for you, what you got out of it and what you tried and how your world changed. So please reach out to us at nourishingthemother.com.au, Nourishing the Mother on Facebook and Instagram. And Bridgie, what do you got going on in the world? How do we connect with you?
Yes, all things reimagining motherhood. So we have just done a little bit of a series around clearing the year and looking at tonic for your triggers as we head into Christmas, which you can catch the replays of if you wanted to join the membership now. And we have a really exciting couple of months planned in the new year. So you can find all about that at bridgetwood.life. And you, Jules?
Is my sexy Christmas date. But I also just want to pin here while we're having this conversation is I've had feedback from a couple of people that are like, oh, I saw the word tantra and I saw the word sexy and I was like, I can't do that. So I also just want to give you huge permission that I have used those words I'm always dancing this line of what is an invitation that creates safe space for you and allows you to embody and take up this space versus it's so fine for you to meet yourself where you're at. And don't forget, Tantra is just a way of saying yes to your body. That's all it means. That's fucking all it means at the end of the day, is a way of saying.
Because I told my husband, he's like, so what actually is it? You know, like he's like, I want to know what it is.
Yeah, it really just means saying yes to feeling.
Yeah. Beautiful.
That's it. However I'm feeling, however my body's feeling, however my partner's feeling, like it's a practice of just saying yes to it all rather than trying to avoid it and resist it.
Mm.
So drop any type of connotation on the word. What it is 20 minutes where you press play and you get to have a really beautiful connecting experience with your partner. And I heard from this couple this morning who were like, oh my God, we did your date last night. It was so fun. Practice number 1. She goes, I burst into tears. It was incredible. Mm. And then he said at the end, the last practice, he was like, it was fucking unbelievable. I watched her just glow. So it's just going, it takes 20 minutes. You've got 20 minutes.
Mm.
Stop making it a thing and a barrier. You've got 20 minutes to create something completely different in your world, to feel really good in your skin, for someone else to hold your space so you can go, how is my body feeling? And that is a pathway to connection. Feeling me allows me to connect with you, as opposed to I have to feel you to connect.
Yeah.
So please come get your sexy Christmas date, whether you choose to make it tantric and sexy or not. It's about connection.
Mm.
You can find out more about that at julietenner.love/sexy Christmas.
Remember to nourish the woman, to rock the family.
And we'll see you next week when we continue to peel back the layers on your mothering journey.
Thank you so much for listening. We literally couldn't do this without you. Please share this podcast with anyone you think it would be medicine for.
If you desire to integrate your learnings practically and supportively into your life, then head on over to bridgetwood.life or julietenner.love to go deeper.
And if you feel like giving back a little to this free content, please rate us on iTunes or Facebook, all of which helps the podcast reach more mamas who need this type of tonic for the soul.